Welcome to Power of the Tribe podcast. I'm your host, John Connors. I'm also the founder and head instructor of Connors Martial Arts here in Norwood, Massachusetts. We teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai kickboxing, and mixed martial arts. And I'm here with my host, Dan Robin. How you doing, Dan?
Good. How you doing, John?
Good. Have you been traveling?
I have not.
You haven't?
I don't know. I went
down to South Carolina,
Georgia. Yeah, that area.
You went to Georgia?
Well, I flew into Georgia, went to South Carolina. I went to, I stayed at I was actually there for like a service for a funeral.
Oh, all right.
Not a funeral, but a service.
I
have a question about it. Like, so I stayed at like a resort.
Yep.
Is it okay to do that? Like to be at a solemn occasion and be like, because everyone else was like, oh, we have rooms at, the Hampton Inn for this service. And I was like, I think I'll just stay like 10 miles. I'll stay on the beach.
I think you can stay at the beach, but maybe you shouldn't, get a mani-pedi.
Yeah.
Or
Don't
massage
enjoy
or
yourself.
something. Well, you can quietly enjoy yourself.
Yeah, not
You don't
like,
golf, do you?
No.
No, you
I
don't.
have golfed, but
Yeah?
I have, but I'm not, it's like I need a whole bucket of balls to not lose it. But anyway, but where's the line? Because I can walk on the beach, right?
You can walk on the beach.
You can
Yep.
sit by the pool.
You can't frolic on the
I
beach.
can't
No
I
frolicking.
don't generally frolic on the
You're
beach.
not a
anyway.
frolicker.
I know,
I
I'm
can
not
tell.
much of a frolicker.
Yeah.
I think I've frolicked though.
You're telling me you have
I
frolic.
think I've frolicked. I think it wasn't for me. I think you should try things.
You
It's one of
try
the
it out.
themes of the podcast. Try.
Right.
I think I tried frolicking, and I was like, it's not for me.
Right. You said, I'm not going to join a frolicking tribe. I'm
Yeah.
looking for a non-frolicking tribe.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think it was on the beach.
Okay.
I think it was at a funeral. No, I stayed at this resort, and you say so. Sitting by the pool is good, right?
Yes, because you're contemplating.
But you can't. Can you like order drinks?
I would.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's appropriate,
Where-
but I'm Irish Catholic, so drinking
Yeah.
and funerals and wakes and memorials, it's all hand in hand.
So it was good. I also got to see like there was a place in like Hunting Island Campground in South Carolina that I camped as a kid, and I thought, how would I ever? I'll never be back.
Huh.
And I went there several times as a kid, and so I got to I was like it was really near there, so I got to see that again. And the only reason I bring it up is that one thing that shocked me about it was that so it was woods like southern woods with like that Spanish moss and like this
Oh, very
deep dark kind of woods.
Uh-huh.
And then there was like a line of dunes and like a path to the beach. So it was a nice campground, but I guess a storm hit it, and I didn't realize so where this woods was located is
Where the
now,
wood was.
where the wood was like is now a beach.
Just
Like it
got
was like
obliterated.
so they had the camp store, which used to be in the middle of the woods, and then you stand at that same store and you look around and it's just sand
Huh.
everywhere. Like because I guess what happens is it blows the dunes completely over, like
Wow.
or washes it, so the sand just covers everything, and the trees all get uprooted and blown away. So that childhood memory was gone.
Gone.
Like the whole the trees were gone, the whole
Huh.
area was gone. That just didn't exist anymore. Blown
Apocalyptic.
completely. It was so surreal.
How
to
was
sit
the
there.
beach around that area? Nice?
Yeah, but again, the storms just transformed it.
Hmm.
There'd be like inlets where there wasn't before. There was water where there wasn't before. Like everything was just completely different. So that childhood memory was completely obliterated.
Interesting.
But anyway,
Everything changes, I guess.
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the fallacy people have is a status quo where things are going to be the same forever.
Or you want to go back, right? I mean, I feel the pull too, right? It's like to want to go back to where I grew up or want to live in the same town, but
I
wouldn't-
don't.
Yeah.
I go back there occasionally, and it's a little depressing to me. I don't know.
Is it
but,
the same?
It's very strange because some parts of it it generally feels smaller and dingier and just older, so not as good. But then there's other parts that are renovated to look a little bit nicer, so I don't know.
Yeah. For me, it's most places have changed. In some places really are. Well, it is older, like the schools or things
Right.
like that. But also my block, they just change. They tear down houses and they put up new
Right.
ones. And then for my block, it was also like every house had 2 big like maple or oak trees
Oh,
in front of it.
very
And
lovely.
they're all gone. Every single tree is gone on the block.
All the trees are gone.
Yeah.
Because they got
So,
too old and just
I
keeled
guess,
over.
Yeah, I guess they were old, or then people just take them down because they don't want to rake, or
I'm picturing you like in this old town with these big trees, and you're like running along with the stick, rolling a hoop,
yeah,
wearing bib overalls,
yeah.
and you're
Pa's
barefoot
home. Yeah.
to kill a mockingbird.
I'll tell you something though. Like, I was laughing. Like, my mom actually, and this was not like.
Don't go by that
it
house.
wasn't
Boo
country-
Radley lives there.
Exactly. Yeah. They did like my mom would call us back, because it's not
Your
even
mom
like
had a triangle?
she had a bell. She'd ring a dinner
Really?
bell. She'd be like, dinner time, like clang, 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 clang. I only recently with my brothers was
Vittles
like,
is served.
I had forgotten that, and then we just we're like, what was with the dinner bell? Like we weren't on a
Wow.
farm, we were in a
Wow.
suburb. But all the kids, everyone talks about this, how it used to be that kids would go out and play
Yeah.
on the street, and she'd like ring a bell for.
You don't see that much anymore, do you?
No, I don't think so. I
a
don't
little bit
feel-
more texting. And
I don't feel like
something.
I'm out on the street and hear someone ringing a bell or hitting the triangle or whatever they do.
That's very quaint, Dan.
Dinner.
Ringing a bell.
Dinner time.
Yeah.
But,
Did you
yeah,
have to be
but-
home when the streetlights came on?
Not really.
Not
Like,
really,
I didn't even
yeah.
have to be home when the street. I don't know if we didn't even have. Did we have street lights? I don't even think so.
You didn't have streetlights, huh?
I mean, it wasn't. It sounds again like a farm, but it was
does.
not. It was like a suburb. But
Scarsdale?
yeah,
Nice.
I mean that's not at all. A
Never
farm.
been there, but it sounds nice.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, it's crazy because any house that was 30 grand is now $1 million.
$1 million.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
real. It's not like it's doubled. It's like it's off the charts
I
completely.
think Boston's very similar. I have a memory that my parents bought the house that I grew up in for like 15,000 or something,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
So
probably
it's not
worth
even-
$500,000
It's
now.
not, yeah, that generation is just completely lucky. That's the one thing that imagine just if any property you bought was 10 times, 20 times its value. Just
It
changes
works out.
changes
Yeah.
everything. But anyway, why were we talking about my childhood and dinner bells and
Because your childhood campgrounds.
That's
that
right. That's right.
Obliterated
that's right.
and washed
So
away.
that's my travel. Like it was kind of a solemn sort of travel, but
Yeah.
I got to see some sights and walk on the beach and frolic a little.
Nice. I went to Manhattan last weekend.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I met my college buddies.
Oh, just for fun. Because last time you were there was to compete.
Right. This time was for fun. We're sort of celebrating one of the guys is cancer-free. So he had cancer and got treated,
Yeah.
and he's over it. So we get together sort of nominally to celebrate that. And
Yeah, awesome.
yeah, it was fun. I gained 5 pounds in like 2 days. Yeah.
Where'd you go out?
Where did we go out? These guys are so crazy. So somebody came up with the idea that we're going to go to a Depeche Mode concert.
Okay.
I'm not a music person, but apparently they were popular in the 80s.
No, yeah, I know Depeche Mode.
You do?
I was not a Depeche Mode person, but
What is their music? What is their
I
hit?
like that new. I can't remember.
It's like European band?
Yeah,
or something?
yeah. They were like the ones that I hated. I was like the metal guy in the 80s.
You're a Bruce Springsteen guy,
No,
something
more-
like that.
no,
No,
more
metal.
metal.
Oh,
Metal.
metal.
Metal
Oh,
guy.
right.
And some rock. Metal drifts down to rock.
Right.
But it doesn't drift down to Depeche Mode. for
Got
me,
it.
so that wasn't my thing. But I know who they are.
So we all crowded into cabs and went across town, and we met another group who was at a hookah bar. You know what hookahs are?
Yeah.
That's smoking this weird
yeah.
crap.
It's just smoking out of a rope, right?
Something. It's
Like
awful.
You put
I
something
don't know. Yeah.
You put something in the middle, like a bowl in the middle, and you.
Yeah.
Grab
so
a rope
It
and-
was a place that was totally cramped and tiny, no place to sit or stand, and smoke everywhere. And I was like,
It's like
I'll just
the last,
meet you outside. They're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
have a seat and
It's
relax.
like the
I'm
last
like,
place
relax.
for you, right? Like you're
Yeah.
trying to get really healthy right now, and you're like in a hookah bar eating crap. And
So then we go to the other bar the other place for the
Mm-hmm.
Depeche Mode concert, and it turns out somebody had misread something, and it was a DJ playing Depeche Mode. Yeah, no wonder the tickets were $15. I'm
I was
like,
gonna
these
say,
guys are
can you-
down on their
I was
luck,
gonna
man.
say you can't just like walk over to a don't you have to get tickets ahead of time? And
I don't know what the hell happened, but we had fun anyways.
it's probably more fun because then you could
think
just like
so.
walk around. It's not as crowded. You wouldn't have to sit in a seat and watch. And
Exactly. I'm not a big concert goer or event goer. I'd rather just hang out with people if I haven't seen them for a while. Shoot the breeze.
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like concerts, but I'm kind of getting out the other side of it where there's two there. First of all, you have like you don't get to talk to the people you're with,
right.
and then secondly, it's 50-50 if there's going to be some drunken lout around you.
50-50. Yeah.
Yeah, and even as an adult,
Yeah.
did I tell you about the time, like my recent concert experiences with?
Tell me again.
Well, there was one. So this is just recent. This is like adulthood,
Like
with
a year or two ago?
married couple. Yeah, maybe this one, maybe 3-4.
Okay.
Well, which depending on the incident. But I had one where we're sitting there, we're watching a concert, and someone stands up in front of you. It happens every concert. So I stand up, and someone behind me just taps me on the shoulder and is like, "Hey, can you sit down? You're blocking my view." And I'm like, "Well, there are
Like
people-
everybody was standing
yeah,
up.
I'm like everyone. There's people in front of me standing up, so I'm like, well, sure, I'll sit down if they sit down. And then the guy, you think, good enough. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. I'll sit down if the people in front of me sit down. And he's like, no, I want you to sit down. And like points in my face. He's like, you're the one blocking my view. You sit down.
So
then I
but
get my-
let me follow this. But if you sat down, he still couldn't really see, right? His
Maybe
view would be
the
blocked.
guy that blocking my view was low enough to not
Huh.
block his view. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because I think it was like not the guy right in front of me, but maybe two in front of me
Okay.
or something like that. So maybe. So then I get, then I'm like, look, I'll tell you what. If the guy in front of me sits down, I'll sit down. That's what I can do for you. You
Okay.
know?
Yeah.
But I got to see, so I'm not sitting down. He's like, no, you have to sit down. That's just like confronting me, like getting like
Yeah.
angry and be like, I can't see, you sit down. So there were a few words back and forth, and it reaches this head where I'm like, look, I'll tell you what, I'm not sitting down. So now what? Now what?
Okay.
I just
yeah.
put it in front, I'm like, I'm not sitting down. So what? So there's like this moment of tension all around.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to get security. And like goes off and like, he goes off to get, like, I'm going to get security. And I'm like, oh, man. And so then I see him like at the end of the row talking to some, one of those yellow jacketed like
Yeah.
security guards.
Where was this, Dan?
This was at, what's it called? The open air, the outdoor place.
Oh, right.
That they always change the name of.
They changed the name all
in
the time.
Mansfield.
Used to be
Uh,
Tweeter or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
right?
that place. Whatever
Yeah.
it's called now. I'm blanking. But so then I just see, like, I can't hear it. They're far away, but I just see the guy yelling and shaking his hand and pointing at me. And I just see the security guard, like, putting his hands up, like, what do you want me to do? Like, shaking his head, like, what do you want me to do? Like, the security guard sort of, you could tell what he was saying. He was, like, looking around, like, everyone's standing up here, like, looking around. The guy's getting madder and madder. And then I didn't hear from him. But that was it. He didn't hear from him
Then
anymore.
he had to like slink back to his seat.
guess.
Like,
And then
how-
everyone around me too was like, all the people were like, "Oh, I thought there was going to be a fight," and they're saying, "Oh, you are totally right. Has that guy never been to a concert before? What an asshole!" Blah blah. And I'm sort of like, "Where were you all when it was happening? Though, where was everybody when it was happening? No one was even looking. Everyone was
Right.
sort of like looking down." And
they were waiting for the matter to be settled before they were going to weigh
and
in.
then they all jumped in,
They're
like,
like, "Oh,
"Oh,
yeah.
you're totally right."
I wouldn't have sat down for that guy
But
either.
truthfully, in my adulthood, I don't need that. I'm kind of
No.
it gets me tense, and I don't like that. I'm not like someone that thrives on that kind of stuff. I don't like it.
Right. And I think that guy it sounds
Yeah.
like he got confused. He confused social media with reality.
Yeah.
He was like, this works on Facebook. I just yell at people and then they go away.
Yeah,
And,
I'm not gonna. I was left with no choice. Right? What am I going to literally sit down and not be able to see?
no,
Because
that's
what I mean?
absurd.
I can't
Yeah.
do it. Can't. It's not an option.
Right.
And then another concert and again, this was even after. So this is like a year or two ago, and I was just with my wife. So I mean, a completely just like husband wife going to see a show.
First of all, the first story you told me, who were you listening to? What was the act?
It was some kind of like old person act. Like it
An
was
old
like
person act?
It was like all the like Journey and
Oh, so you
and
wouldn't
Heart
think you
and-
would be getting
yeah,
any
yeah.
friction
Like
at
like when they take all the old
Yeah.
bands, and they all go out together, like 80s bands.
Right.
Like, I don't remember exactly who, but I think it was like Journey and
Right.
Heart and
Yeah. And yeah.
something like that. Cheap Trick, or whoever,
Right.
those bands from back then. So yeah, it's not like a harsh crowd,
Right.
So this second concert, I'm just with my wife, and I feel a tap on my shoulder. I'm like,
Here we go
and
again.
I can't believe it.
What
And
if it's the same guy?
But this time, everyone was standing up.
Everyone in the whole
Every
place is
single
standing.
person was standing up.
Huh.
So I'm a little, this one
Yeah.
was a little different, right? It was like every single person standing up.
Yep.
So I feel a tap, and I'm like,
And what's the act you're watching?
well, see, this could, I feel like it distract from my point.
Okay,
but
go ahead.
But it was
Yep.
Black Sabbath.
All right.
Is that distracting from the point?
No.
Because it's
I
sort
don't
of like, why are you with your wife at a Black Sabbath? But it was like a birthday
No,
present
of
for
course,
me.
that's
and
great, yeah.
So Black Sabbath. So maybe a little rougher crowd, but they should all be old, right? Like no young
Geezers,
people aren't. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So although like Ozzy Osbourne, like pulls in a little bit of like younger metal
Okay.
heady kind of crowd, but I mean, no one young is going to go see Journey and Heart and Cheap Trick.
I don't think so. No.
I went to see one of these old guy shows, like a Foreigner show, and literally as soon as I walked in, one guy in front of me and one guy like a couple down from me had like oxygen tanks. I'm like, this is how old I am. Like I'm in the crowd with people on oxygen.
Right. And all the guys are running to the restroom, right?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
a
yeah.
Flomax commercial.
So I think actually if you go to a younger crowd, they're more respectful. Like you're at more risk for this happening.
That first
when people
story
were-
when the guy got this
Yeah.
tattled on you, whatever. What did he look like? What was his deal?
like 30s. I think he had a mustache, which is not good. And then
Was he fit, unfit?
uh,
I'm gonna go
no,
with stocky.
yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he looked, a little bit slightly rough neck. It's hard for me to remember, to tell the truth. I remember it was like not like he's huge or he's tiny. You know what I mean? It
You
was
weren't
like
totally intimidated.
he was like an even. I remember it as like an even sort of match physically. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like
The fact that he went to the security guard though tells
Yeah.
me he's a little weak.
well,
right?
but I think he went to put. I think. Well, I was going to skip this part, but it turned out like I thought he was sitting right behind us, but then later I think it turned out he was like 6 rows back.
What?
And he had gotten everyone else to sit down. Like he was
Oh,
going row to row,
Wow.
saying, sit down, sit down, sit down. And there were all these disgruntled people sitting down behind me. And then he sort of ran into me and was like, that was the end of
What a
of the-
wackadoo. So he
Yeah.
was going to get the whole stadium to sit down.
Yeah, I guess, until he could see.
Holy cow. You shouldn't.
So-
that's a good part of
But
the
then I
story,
was,
Dan. Don't
I
leave
know,
that
I,
out.
I forgot about that part, to tell the
So
truth.
you
'Cause
stood
then
up
I
to
was
him.
kind of like sneering at the rows behind me. I'm like, you all sat down?
Wow.
Because there was, bigger guys than me and, in those rows. And it was,
You're like the Rosa Parks of not sitting down in the stadium. That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
so Black Sabbath with my wife. This
Okay.
guy was even worse because everyone's sitting down.
Everyone's
And,
sitting.
sorry. Everyone's standing up. The
Okay.
whole stadium's standing up.
Where's
So I think-
this?
At same place.
Same place. I'm never going.
And
there.
yeah,
If we ever find out
I
the
feel
name
that
of that
same
place,
pat on my shoulder, and I'm like, what is this going to be now? I thought, maybe he'd say, do you have a light, or something like this. And he goes, hey, and he looks angry again, and he goes, every time you turn and talk to your wife, you're blocking my view because you lean in to talk to her. I'm just standing there like, I can't believe it. Just like, sorry, what did you say? He's like, every time you talk, like, you know what I mean? Like you lean over to talk to your wife, it like gets in my field of view.
for a
like-
split second.
Yeah, for a split second
my
while I
field
talk.
of view is blocked.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he could move his head, or, but I was just like incredulous. I'm sitting there like, what are you saying to me? Like I have to. And my wife's automatic.
Like, what is your grievance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her automatic reaction is like, just let it
Just
go.
apologize.
Let it go. Like don't. She doesn't want me to lose my temper. In general, it's a good instinct, right? Like, but I'm sort of
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so but I started losing my temper at
You're
this
like,
one.
wait,
I
what?
I was like, are you telling me you don't want me to talk to my wife while I'm at this concert? Like you're ordering me to not talk to my wife. And this one, I was like, I responded more angrily.
I can
You
see
know,
it
I was
right
just
now.
like-
You look slightly angry.
Yeah,
right now.
actually, I am getting mad. Remember, I was like, I think this one wasn't like, the last one came to a head with me saying like, well, I'm not sitting down.
Yeah.
This one came to a head with me saying like,
So the
I think
first one was sort of like civil disobedience.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's a strike. I'm not moving. You're gonna have to physically
Yeah, yeah.
remove me.
Yeah.
This
so
time,
so
now,
yeah.
you're
This
like,
time I think I said something like, "Go F yourself," or something like that. Like I was like, I can talk to my wife if I want to. F you.
yeah.
But then it sort of ruins your time anyway. Like, because I'm mad, but
yeah.
because the guy's
yeah.
behind you. And
Yeah.
you're sitting there going, am I going to get hit in
Hard
the back?
to just drop that. Yeah,
I'm just going to get hit in the back of the head now? Or like, and then every time I go to talk to my wife, I'm like,
You're thinking about this.
yeah, I'm like, this guy's
nudnik
obviously.
behind you. Yeah.
So it was kind of
Were you
ruining my
wearing
time.
a Black Sabbath T-shirt?
No.
No. What were you wearing? A polo shirt?
Full suit. No, I don't know. I was wearing I don't know, right? It's probably a sweatshirt or something.
I like your hoodie today
Yeah.
by Cornell. Very nice.
I got it because I was cold at Cornell.
There you go.
But so that one ends. The thing is that actually had a funny ending too, where I'm uncomfortable like for a few songs, and then I feel he taps me again, and I'm like, oh boy, like this is gonna, that can't be good.
Can't be good.
So I turn around like kind of ready, and he just slows. His girlfriend or wife, the woman he was with,
Yeah.
is like glaring at him. He's sort of fuming and not saying anything, and she goes like, she like pokes him like with an angry expression, and he looks at her and he's like, fine, and he goes, I'm sorry. Like she bullied him. He goes, sorry. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Like, apology accepted. Like she like like, I guess she was like really mad that he did it.
That actually is good for you because then you could relax a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was like, obviously his wife or girlfriend or whatever she was, like got on him.
Well, good for her.
but-
I mean, that's unusual. I
Yeah.
find people
I don't
rarely apologize these
Yeah.
days for anything.
But I don't get into it. Was a totally phony apology, but I'll take it. He was
It was
like,
forced.
yeah. Yeah. He
She
said
browbeat him into
yeah,
it.
he said it like, sorry. And I was like, yeah, no problem.
But it worked for you a little bit. It
Yeah.
gave you some relief.
Yeah, I was like,
right?
he's not going to hit me in the back of the head with
Right.
if he got forced to apologize.
Right.
But I'm again like, you're going to a concert in your 40s, and I don't go to that many,
Right.
and there's 2 incidents like that. So back to the original point was like, I don't even really like going to these concerts because
You got to
just
get
guys around
back
you.
row
Yeah.
tickets or something.
Although,
Nobody's
I mean,
behind you.
sporting events aren't that different, right? You don't know. You're at risk.
Yeah.
Like I don't have any stories of anything happening recently to me at a sporting event, but it could. I always have
fair
that
amount of drinking.
We
at
talked about
these.
this before. I had that radar on, and a lot of times it's like
You
oh,
do because
oh,
you
man.
almost
Yeah.
get killed a few times as a child. You
So,
have that
but
situational
it
awareness.
distracts me. If you're sitting there, you're like, there's a guy right there who's like being belligerent, and like,
Yeah.
his focus isn't on me, but it could turn
Yeah.
any second.
Yeah.
It's distracting.
You could turn around and go, and you stop talking to your wife.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
like,
exactly.
Oh my God, here we go.
Or I've seen guys, I don't know if you've seen this, it wasn't directed at me, but guys that'll be like, everybody get up and cheer, and you don't, and they get like driven into a fury. Have you ever seen that? There's sort of like,
Yeah.
why aren't you getting up and cheering? Like red-faced, and it's like he's taking it upon himself to like,
I was at
that
the
everyone
Red
has to
Sox
cheer.
game with my son a couple weeks ago, and there was a young guy in the right field grandstands running around trying to get a wave going,
Yeah.
and he was committed to getting this going, and he was like in the walkway down at
Yeah.
the bottom, running around directing people, and I thought
but
it
you
was
could imagine
weird.
someone like that turns like they're like you don't want to, so you're sitting there, and then
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, why aren't you getting
I'm not
up?
doing the wave on principle
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. He didn't really get a wave going, and he was annoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally disappointed with everybody. And by the way, it was a meaningless game too. It was like the Red Sox had already clinched the pennant. Like
Yeah.
it was over. And
But I've seen people like I've seen the Patriots blow out a team, and then fans trying to pick a fight with people from the other, like wearing the opponent's jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Like even it's like we won by 21 points, and you're still like trying to pick a fight with.
that's obnoxious, right?
yeah, it's uncomfortable.
That's not good.
And then if you're there with kids, or or it's just
That's a tribal thing. Then if
Yeah.
you're wearing a Patriots hat or something, and somebody's acting obnoxiously, in the name of the Patriots, then now you feel like a dummy, right? You
Yeah.
don't want to do it.
we've talked about. I think.
Do
a
you
li-
ever wear a jersey with another man's name on it?
Have I ever? Well, I told you,
Recently, like a Tom Brady
no,
shirt or something?
No.
Gronk?
but I could wear a jersey. People wear jerseys, right?
They wear jerseys all the time. Do you ever wear,
Like to the game. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never ever worn one.
how
not to.
about a ball cap on backwards?
in my life.
No, in your 40s and beyond.
No.
No. I don't think they should be allowed to. I think
There
once
should be a
you're
law.
40, you can't wear a baseball cap backwards. I can't stand
Well, what
it.
about a jersey to the game? Like to the
Uh,
actual, you're like, I have this one Patriot jersey.
I'll
I'm gonna
allow
wear
it.
Okay. That's reluctant, though.
I won't.
Yeah.
I won't, but yeah.
But I've had thought going to these games is getting a little crazy. Like, I still go. I like it. We live really near Foxborough,
Right.
but it's sometimes you're there and just freezing. You know, it's just free. And you think,
Dan, I've been all over the world, and the coldest I've ever been is at a Patriots game.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I went there in September. I thought it was about 50 degrees out, so I wore like a jacket with a hoodie underneath, no gloves, just
Yeah, I've
sort
done
of
that.
like running shoes, and it got so freaking cold. I thought I was going to die.
yeah, I have actually been so cold there that I'm suffering. That I'm like, I'm not just like a little cold. I'm suffering.
I
I'm in
was
pain.
beyond suffering. I was hallucinating. And I was looking at people that had these blankets on.
Yeah.
Everyone in the stadium was prepared except for me. And I started, it was like in the cartoons when they see oases that they're imagining something. I was imagining stealing their blankets away from them, hitting them over the head and taking their blankets. I was so cold.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I'm like, is there some room? Like, I'm gonna run back behind, like where they're preparing the food, like just to get
Right.
out of the cold.
Yeah. I went in the men's room
Yeah,
more
just-
often than I needed to, and it wasn't that warm in there
No,
either.
yeah, no.
And
But
we
I think-
beat the Colts, I remember, with
But
Peyton Manning.
what
Yeah.
I was saying though is that when we were young, you know, you're watching on a little TV and it's staticky,
Oh, right.
and you don't want to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
going to the game is way better. It's like a really cool,
Yeah.
you know. But now you get the 75-inch TV, high def, and
It's way better
the
to be
yeah.
home.
And then plus you'd go then and it was like I'll get $35 tickets or something. And now it's like $500 a ticket,
Very expensive, isn't
3
it?
hours in traffic, and you don't get to see as much, and you're freezing. You know, it's sort of the payoff. All this said, I'll go again, like maybe once a year.
All this
but
said, they sell out every
Yeah.
game.
There's a waiting list for season tickets that's like 15 years long now. So.
That's amazing, huh? What
And
a
you have to
business.
pay a couple $100, I think, to get on the waiting list.
Wow.
So yeah, we'll see what happens when Brady retires. But anyway, so concerts and yeah, bad experiences. Yeah, that's been my experience. I mean, I don't know if it's me, but that
I'm
doesn't.
supposed to go see Hamilton this weekend.
I don't think that'll happen.
You don't think I'm not going to get the tap on the shoulder?
I think the theater going crowd. I really don't.
I might
picture
be the
theater
tapper.
Going, yeah.
I might start tapping people on
Yeah,
the
could
shoulder.
you quiet down?
Yeah.
Actually, that is one thing that can happen. You could be the annoyed one, where you're trying to, you paid a lot, you want to go see this event. Anyone talks around you, or makes noise.
Maybe.
You get irate about it. I wouldn't say anything. I'm not like a confrontational.
I
guy,
usually
but
get my napping in when I go to these events.
with a $300 ticket. Yeah, I guess Hamilton's like a thing now. You have to go see.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you all about it.
I saw it on Broadway.
What did you think?
It's good.
Somebody told me, actually, my college buddy I drove down to Manhattan with, he said he read the book. I thought he was joking. He goes, I read the book. I'm like, you read the book about it? They made a book on a musical, but I guess the musical is based on a certain book.
Lin-Manuel Miranda read the book. See, you tune into this podcast, you're learning about musicals.
You learn a lot.
Yeah. But what it is, well, Hamilton has a crazy story. That's
Right.
the thing. So the first time I saw Hamilton, like I had a friend that had said, like, it is not only the best musical I've seen, it's the best piece of art that has ever been created. Something like that.
Huh.
So then it's hard, it's really hard to go
Had
in
he
with
been
that.
to a Black
'Cause
Sabbath concert?
Exactly. I don't know. I think did he see Cheap Trick and Journey? I don't think he'd feel the same way. Foreigner with it hitting on the oxygen, that's a good experience. But he so when you go in with that expectation,
He told that you
yeah.
heard that before you went in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that kills it.
That's
It's like
gonna
any
kill it,
movie. I
right.
think we all know that by now, right? Like any movie, you hear this is amazing. You come out
never
like,
do
what
that.
are you
Yeah.
talking about? Like that was not amazing.
I
And if you hear it's
deliberately
horrible,
undersell
yeah.
any good movie.
Yeah.
I will only tell you about a movie I think is great, and then I'll tell you it's pretty good. I think you might like it.
Right.
And secretly, I'm like, it's amazing.
Yeah, because it ruins it if like people come out going,
Yeah.
it wasn't amazing, and if it works in reverse too, like this is horrible. You come out thinking, and not to force feed it back to like the gym, but it does occur to me that these expectations are huge too at the you know what I mean. If you come in like people come out and say this will be so super life altering for you, that it sets up a really high standard and sets people up to be disappointed. Or the reverse, I think it works in the positive way. A lot of people are like, oh, it's scary, it hurts, I'm at risk of getting beat up, and they have these negative thoughts, and they come in like really pleasantly surprised, like, oh, that wasn't so bad. It's these expectations that really guide your thoughts. But so the first time I saw Hamilton, it guided my thoughts to being like more negative. Like I was like, well, I don't know if it's the greatest piece of art. Like, I mean, it was good.
Did you watch it with your arms folded across your chest?
Yeah, I was like,
not impressed.
Yeah,
I could have written this.
I could have written that. Anyone could have written it. But I just came out like, yeah, it's good. But I was like, yeah, other things are good. Les Mis is good, and Wicked is good, or stuff. I don't know. But then I saw it again, and it sort of worked in reverse, where I was like, yeah, it worked in reverse, where I was like, I'd heard it was, last time I saw it, I was like, it wasn't as great as everyone said. And so I came in negative, and then I'm like,
don't give me any spoilers here now.
He dies.
It turns out it's all a dream.
He gets shot. Yeah, in the end, it's all a dream.
So the second time you saw it, you appreciated it in full.
Yeah. Yeah, then I was like, all right, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. So, I mean, also, I don't know if you've seen musicals, because some people haven't seen musicals and they don't understand musicals, and then they're like, what was that? And they either don't hate it or don't.
So what do I don't think I have seen a musical. What do I need to know about musicals?
Well, they sing.
They sing. I got that part, yeah.
Well, I'll give you an example. I just recently went with some friends to see Book of Mormon.
That's a musical by the South Park guys.
Yeah.
By the way, South Park is an amazing show. But go ahead.
Right, and they came in saying like, "Oh, we love South Park." And I heard this is hysterical.
Okay.
And they all came. Like we walked out, and it was exactly what I thought it would be. And they were like, "I just want to apologize for suggesting that we go to this."
Oh, they didn't like it.
They were like, "That was so bad."
What did you think?
And I was like, I thought it was exactly what I thought it would be. It was like
the only thing I wouldn't enjoy about that so much is I think the Mormons is such an easy target that it's not really funny anymore.
Yeah, but I thought they did it pretty well.
Yeah?
But it's a musical. Like, it's not hysterical. It's not stand-up. It's not South Park. It's not a stand-up act.
If they did a comic musical about some other major religion that doesn't get as much criticism, that would be pretty impressive.
But the Mormons actually handled it really well. They took out ads in all the playbills that are like, yeah, maybe this is a little off, and why don't you come join her? Like, that's the way to handle it, right?
They took it with a good sense of humor.
Yeah, they didn't fight back, which I think worked well. But you have to know what you're getting into, to like, maybe.
So there's going to be a lot of singing at the musical.
And there'll be some dancing.
Some dancing.
Yeah.
Will I be able to follow the plot? There is a plot, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically what happened to Hamilton, right? Aaron Burr, ring a bell?
They had a duel?
Yeah. Didn't go well for him.
Didn't go well.
It's not the spoil. But it's good. I'm not doing spoil. Like, it's good. It's an interesting story. You're like, really? That's, I think that's what happened. The guy who wrote the musical was like, oh, wow, this is a crazy story. So anyway, we don't need to keep talking about.
Yeah, doesn't something happen to his son as well?
The spoilers, John.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe something happens.
All right, so we're essentially out of time.
Oh, really?
We haven't even talked about any Power of the Tribe stuff.
Yeah, I know. We had, and just so anyone listening, we had something planned to talk about.
We did, but this is probably better. I mean,
are we out of time? What time did we start?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I thought we started at 1:15 or something.
Oh, okay. We got a little more time.
Oh, we got plenty of time.
Now we have to come up with a topic.
Well, what I was going to talk about was I just listened to Tyson Fury on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I imagine you didn't listen to it because it just
No.
came out today. Do you know who Tyson Fury is?
Yeah, the heavyweight boxer.
Yeah, I guess he's an English guy, 6'8", and former champion.
A lot of the heavyweights now, it's not like the days of. It's not either Muhammad Ali or even Mike Tyson, right? There's a lot of 6'6".
They're
6'8",
all that big.
Right.
Yeah, they make the guys from the yesteryear look tiny. I think Ali was only 6'2", like
Right.
212 or 220 at
Yeah.
the most. These guys are all.
You go back
250,
further to like
260.
Jack Dempsey, and he's like my size, right? Or like
I think so.
You go that far back, it becomes.
Rocky Marciano was like 190 pounds, I thought, something like that.
But I think well, first of all, Lennox Lewis was pretty tall.
I think he's 6'5". Yeah.
You correct me if I'm wrong, but my feeling is these Klitschko's came out and they were like 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", and
I think one of them is 6'5" or so, and one of them is 6'7".
yeah, and
Yeah.
they were just sort of jabbing everyone with
Yeah.
these long arm to death.
Yeah,
And then it was like
this works.
no one could really figure. Everyone started having to get longer reaches and taller.
Yeah. And so Tyson Fury, which is a great fighter name.
Yeah. Is it his actual name?
I
think
don't
it
know.
is.
Yeah.
I think it is.
That's amazing. He beat Vladimir Klitschko, who had not lost in 11 years, apparently. That's what he said. And I guess Klitschko would just jab you to death, like you're saying, and clinch.
Yeah.
Like fight very smart. Just jab you once and then grab you, and the ref has to break it up, and then he just wins every round.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about this? There's a case to be made that it was the end of a boxing era, like that, like with the UFC coming up and these basically boring heavyweight fights. I mean, no one really wants to see the jab and clinch.
I totally agree. It's awful. I mean, that's why I think MMA is so popular. Is so many more fights have a definitive ending. Person either taps, or they get choked out, or they get knocked out. Far fewer fights go to decision. When you watch boxing, the majority of fights seem to go to decision. And then when you're watching Mayweather, where it's very technical and slick, and a lot of defense, it's hard for the casual fan to even understand who's winning the rounds. And
Right.
And then you're waiting, like, who won?
Yeah. Yeah, that's not satisfying, right?
I don't
Even
think
in
so.
MMA, it's not their fault. I don't get mad at the fighters like some people do, but it can be disappointing because you feel like it's unfinished. You're like, I kind of wanted to know who was better, and then the fight ends, and you're like, I don't really know who's better.
I totally agree, especially when one fighter seems to be better and seems to be controlling the action, but they're not taking advantage of all the opportunities. So they're just kind of like picking at the other guy and sort of winning the rounds when you want him to come in with the coup de grace and just finish the guy.
Which we should say is different than at any of these events. You have people that are just, they want to see the slobber knocker, right? They want to,
Right, that's
it's like
different,
they'd rather see two bums flailing at each other than
Right.
these professional athletes. I think it's a problem in a lot of the, I guess all the combat sport fan base where they just get people, they just want to see people smashing at each
See
other.
a train wreck,
but
yeah.
so we're not saying that, but you still want to see people committed to finishing and people.
I
trying
love
to-
the heavyweights that get after it,
Yeah.
That's why, who's the guy now fighting Cormier?
Derek
Lewis. All his fights end badly one way or the other, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he just throws bombs until either he gets caught or.
I always like the heavyweights. Mark Hunt, I find, is always worth watching, and even Stefan Struve, that real big tall guy.
Yeah.
It's a spectacle, and they almost always finish. They don't go to decision too often.
So did you see? I don't want to get sidetracked, but this was unprecedented that the UFC got rid of Mighty Mouse Johnson.
Yeah.
It was like the best.
Is that a done deal?
I think it's very close, but I don't know if it's done.
Yeah,
But
I guess-
they're trading him for Ben Askren.
Yeah.
So, so one side of this trade, they just don't respect. Like Mighty Mouse is as skilled as anybody, but he fights at 125, and I guess the UFC has just decided that they don't.
I think
want
it
that
must
weight
come down to
class.
pay-per-views. They must have a way to parse out the numbers and see.
It's
got to
be money, right?
Oh, that's the whole thing.
So I think they're trying to. I think they tried as hard as they could to be like, he's the best pound for pound fighter in the world, and no one bought the pay-per-view anyway. And
Yeah.
they're like, I think they might demolish the whole weight class now.
Huh?
Right? If they're letting him go, who are they going to have carry it? It's like the guy who beat him is what's his name?
Henry
Cejudo.
Cejudo, yeah.
And but he's big anyway. Like he could go to 135.
Oh, right.
I have this feeling they might let it go.
Maybe. I think it
maybe
all comes
not,
down
maybe
to
not,
money.
but
No, I don't
yeah.
think they'll do that, but I think
They won't have him headline any events.
maybe he was such a perennial winner that his cost went up to a point where they're like, this isn't worth it. Let's
Yeah.
get rid of him. But I thought Dana White had a personal animosity toward Ben Askren.
Yeah, well, Ben Askren mouths off a lot about the UFC and Dana. So
But they seem to be like they're going to take him on.
yeah.
Huh.
Well, but to your point, Ben Askren, for anyone who doesn't know, he's an amazing wrestler, but he never finishes anybody.
No,
the
he
point you're-
finishes people, Dan. Definitely does.
Well, I've seen a lot of decisions. Oh, no, you're right. I've seen him finish people.
Yeah.
But he tends toward decision. I think at the level of the UFC, you're going to get a lot of holding people down. How's he fit? What do you mean? Like, I think
I've seen him finish a lot of people
with punches on the ground.
Yeah, yeah, like just a multitude, like 100. It's like 100 noogies, like 100 tiny little punches. We should look up his numbers. I thought he's pretty good, actually, surprisingly, for finishing people because he's just relentless.
But he has that way. He tackles people. You know, he takes people down.
Yep.
And then he holds them there. But I mean,
He's
Khabib,
much like Khabib.
does that. So
he's got a very similar style.
yeah,
I would
sort
say.
of. I don't see how you could be against Askren and like Khabib. Like, you know,
I think it's a similar strategy. Last time I saw Askren fight, at the end of the fight, he took his gloves off and he hadn't even wrapped his hands. He doesn't even bother to wrap his hands because he's not punching anyone with that force, I guess. But he's a master at what he does. I love it, and I'm fascinated to see how he's going to do against these top UFC fighters because I don't know if he was fighting top talent over in
Yeah, we'll
UFC.
see. It'll be sort of funny if they make this big trade making on the news and then he just can't compete at the UFC level. I suspect he will, but you don't know.
Yeah, he was.
been-
I looked at my Twitter feed last night, and he was calling out virtually every fighter in the UFC. Insulting
He's
them.
mouthy, so
Yeah,
that'll be fun. But it'll almost be too bad if he just loses. You know, I don't
Right.
think he will though, because there's been some crossover. You know what I mean? Like people have left the UFC that were pretty competitive, and it's
well,
not
he was
like
talking about he. Yeah, I guess it depends on the matchup. Like he was kind of calling out what's his name, Darren Till, who it might be a good matchup for him because if he gets the guy
Till has
down,
no chance at all.
the guy he didn't seem to be that good on the ground.
Well,
Against,
Woodley fought Till, and
Yeah.
Woodley trains with Askren.
right?
So I'm sure Askren is like, well, if you could do that to him, you know, if you can take him down at will,
Right.
we know I can take him down at will.
Right.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
And then it'll be a big name, and he'll already be in the top 10 if he wins that one fight.
Yeah.
That's a good plan, I guess.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. Yeah, I like grappling, so I like when the guys like him.
It's tough. The fans don't generally like grappling that much, though.
I don't think so. I don't think it's as visually appealing to the casual fans.
They don't even know what's happening. I've watched UFC with casual fans before, and they don't.
Why doesn't he just get up?
Yeah, just get up and stuff like this. Or like someone real. I think it was way back. Like Dean Lister might have been fighting someone that was very good at jiu-jitsu, and he got this really tight triangle on a guy that wasn't that good at jiu-jitsu, and so he gets the triangle on, and I'm like, oh, this fight's over. And they all looked at me like, what are you talking? Like, why? Why is this fight over? Because maybe the guy was still flailing at him or something.
Right.
And they're like, they just looked all confused. And then the fight was over, and they were like, you're some kind of guru, or, you know, and I was like, they don't even know what's happening. You know, they don't know what's happening on the ground. So they want them to stand up and throw. Everyone knows what's happening when they're punching at each other.
They do.
To some extent.
Well, if somebody falls down unconscious, then they get it. Like, that
That guy
guy's
lost.
losing.
He gets hit in the face and falls down. They're like, that was probably bad.
That's not good. Yeah.
So Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury, he sounded really good on Rogan. He seems like an interesting guy. So he beats Klitschko, becomes a world champion, and retires. I think he made a ton of money. I didn't watch it. I don't really watch boxing as much as, but I think there's a lot of worldwide fans, so they make a lot of money. But he went into a deep depression and gained a ton of weight. He got up to 400 pounds. And I think he fights at about 260, so he put on 140 pounds and contemplated suicide.
It was not a healthy 400.
It wasn't. No.
All right. Okay,
Yeah.
just to clarify.
Yeah. it wasn't a muscular 400. Yeah, it was. He said a lot of beers and cocaine got him to 400.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably more the beer than the cocaine. Probably food as well.
So he said, he goes, well, a pint has 500 calories, which I don't think it does, but he goes, and
like
I'd
the
have
sound of that.
He goes, I'd have at least 18 of them a night,
Well,
and then
that's
some
not-
whiskey and vodka and so
Yeah,
forth.
all right, so yeah,
And
no,
then
no
then,
fooling around drinking.
Then have
yeah.
some pizzas and kebabs later after that.
Can you imagine what a wreck you must feel like all the time? You must feel horrible all the time. Like I don't care
What
who
do you
you
mean?
are. If you're drinking 18 drinks
Oh,
at
my
night,
gosh, yeah.
and then eating pizza all night, you are not feeling good all day, and then you go
just
right
that
back at it.
weekend
Like,
down in Manhattan, I gained 5 pounds, and I think a lot of it was, we ate some lousy pizza here and there. Not great pizza. I don't know where the great pizza is in New York, but we just kind of had that late night pizza, and I could see even my fingers got all swollen, like
you just
sausages.
feel bad, right?
Yeah.
You feel like sluggish. You feel down on yourself, and
Not good. Processed food is
yeah.
really evil.
you weren't even at 400.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
like, yeah, I feel down. Like, or even anytime you're out and you eat bar food and a few beers, you're like the next day you're like, I feel just
It's not
groggy,
good.
and
Yeah.
And then people that go right back at it day after day after day after day, you have to feel miserable. And like you were saying you fell into a depression, which is not surprising.
True. But now he's out of it. He's fighting for the title again against this guy Deontay Wilder. Have you ever seen that guy?
Yeah.
He's scary. Holy
Yeah,
cow,
that's a good
man.
fight, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not following close enough to have a prediction who'll win. I don't know.
I don't know. Tyson Fury sounded very confident today on the podcast, but when I watch these highlights of Deontay Wilder, I wouldn't even want to be in the stadium. When he starts swinging his arms, somebody's going to die. They can block the punches that it doesn't seem to matter. He just seems so powerful. It's just crazy. And, I don't know.
So there's something there, and you briefly mentioned to me that in how he got from 400 pounds, 18
Back.
drinks a night.
Right. So he was suicidal. He was at the depths of despair, depression. And he somehow, he didn't want to commit suicide because he didn't want to abandon his family and leave them with I think the way he phrased it is he didn't want to be remembered as somebody who quit, somebody who was weak. So it's like his competitive nature kept him from the brink of self-destruction,
Right.
which he was lucky, I guess, And then he recommitted himself to becoming world champion again. So he took a new goal on and started doing the whole thing, getting in shape, eating healthy, and he sounds great. And I guess the big point of it all was he is a person that has to have a goal that he's working toward that excites him, and that keeps him healthy. And without it, he could be in big, big trouble.
Right. So actually, like, it's like in his natural state, he'll just like drink all day and eat food all day, and then he
Be
needs,
depressed.
Yeah, and be depressed. Like, it's like he needs something to convince him to not do that.
Yeah.
Like but I think there's different versions of that, right? I mean, which is, I guess, we're not.
What do you mean, different versions?
Versions of, it's not like people need a goal or they'll get to 400 pounds and get depressed, but there's versions of needing a goal to not feel, maybe not that extreme, but need a goal to give yourself some focus and you'll
I
end up
agree.
feeling happier. Like maybe you
Yeah.
won't spiral into chaos, but you'll find yourself happier with the goal.
I feel that way for myself. I'm not going to put out there as a universal for all humans, but I certainly feel that way. And now that I'm competing, I feel so much better, and I think I'm healthy. I was pretty healthy anyways, but just the idea that I have a weight that I'm supposed to weigh. I'm supposed to weigh 175 and a half. So I weigh myself every morning. I weigh myself before I step on the mat when I train every day, and it keeps me at that weight. It keeps me at a healthy weight. And I think sometimes we get this idea that we don't want to put that much pressure on ourselves, and you shouldn't weigh yourself every day. You're going to get obsessed with it. But for me, it's a good kind of pressure. And so if I get a pound over my fighting weight, I say,
Because
"Oh, gee, I
without
gotta
the
clean it up."
goal, it just sort of doesn't matter what your weight is, right? I mean, that's
It wouldn't
where I am now.
matter.
It just doesn't matter.
I would have some vague idea of like, well, now I'm 190 pounds. I'm not looking as good as I could, so maybe I'll eat a little bit healthier next week.
Right. It's very vague.
It's too vague for me, for sure. And then I think I told you in my life, I chose a goal very early on, and my goal was to get into Harvard. And I worked super hard, and I was relatively fulfilled and happy for 10 years. And then I got into Harvard, and I didn't realize that I needed to set another goal or a more elegant goal immediately. And then I went into a deep depression myself.
Right after graduation?
No, right after getting accepted.
Oh.
Because I had framed my goal as I want to get into Harvard. And I had that in my head for about 10 years. And then I applied there early and didn't apply anywhere else. And I got my acceptance letter. And I pretty much went into depression immediately.
So by the time you got to Harvard, you were 400 pounds. And
I was 400 pounds, a Coke addict, drinking 18 pints of lager every day. No, but I was probably drinking way too much. It was awful. And I didn't understand why I was suddenly devoid of motivation. And I was like, why the hell can't I do anything? I can't get up. I don't want to do anything. And I had been a person who hit the books super hard and was a motivated athlete. Pretty much everything I did, I think I did with a lot of conscientiousness and hard work, and I couldn't find that spark anymore. I felt like I was just walking in mud. I just was just weighed down. It just felt heavy and slow, and I couldn't get my head around it.
So you just started setting goals?
I wish I had set goals sooner, but I to be honest, I'm not sure how I pulled myself. I knew I wanted to graduate, so I just barely graduated. But now in my life, I find that the more I do have goals, the happier I am.
I think what happens too, especially for at that young age, like say you're at college, you automatically have goals. Like it's it's built into your life. It's like you need to get a grade, you need to pass this test, you need to graduate. And a lot of people graduate and then all those built-in goals are gone. That happened to me too. So like I went through, got my doctorate. So no matter what I was doing, there was a goal. You know what I mean? It was like I am getting closer to that doctorate no matter what. Even if I as long as I'm doing these things, I'm getting to a goal.
Yeah.
Then you get it and you're like, I'm not. Now if I sit here doing nothing, I'm doing nothing. I'm nothing. I'm not getting closer to anything.
Right.
Nothing's being accomplished. Whereas,
and there's so many distractions in our life now. We live a life of relative luxury compared to people hundreds of years ago. So, there's all these who can eat processed food, play video games, watch TV. There's endless sort of, dopamine attractions that we can just whittle away, or you can listen to inane podcasts.
They're listening to some podcast.
So I think for me, it's essential to have a goal. And, otherwise, some people, I think we have these kind of unstated goals. We're going to find a mate, get married, have children, have a certain amount of financial success. And then I wonder what happens if you do all of that sort of without it being explicitly as a goal. And now the kids are off. Your kids are off to college. And you're an empty nester.
Yeah, I feel it. Like it wasn't even an explicit goal, I think, for me. But in the back of my head was always house, kids, all this stuff. And then you get there, and you can even get there, like you could be like, this was a success story. Like I'm in a better house than I thought. Yeah, I have more money than I thought, or my kids are doing better than I thought, or whatever it is. And you could still be like, run into that. I don't have a goal now. Like everything went well. So now what?
Now what?
Yeah. Now what do I do? I think that's probably pretty common at some level. I mean, there's a lot of variations of this.
Right.
And not everything is 400 pounds and 18 drinks, but but it can be like just a bad feeling or or just you're getting lazier or, whatever it is.
Definitely. And remember Herb, 81-year-old Herb, when he was in here, his thing that reinvigorated his fitness routine is the prospect of holding a great-grandchild in his arms. So
that and getting in a parking lot fight, I think he's still. I think that's
I got
one
a feeling
of his
he's gonna check that off the bucket list pretty soon. The parking lot fight, the road rage fight.
when I had a flash image in my head of Herb like lying in a parking lot, like that wasn't as fun as as I was picturing.
Have you rolled with him
Yeah.
recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's remarkably strong, man, and
Yeah, he gets
effective.
hard.
Yeah.
He gets an overhook and
Oh man, yeah.
good grips, and yeah. Still, a parking lot fight might be a less fun kind of
I
thing.
think it's probably something you want to keep in the world of fantasy. You don't
Yeah,
want
I
to live that
guess
one
so.
out.
I think he'd probably admit that. I think probably the great grandchild is more explicit goal than the parking
It's a
lot
good
fight.
goal. Yeah, but actually, when I asked him about it, he completely forgot about it. He couldn't pull it up. I had to remind him. He's like, "Oh yeah."
That's right. Yeah, he's probably more focused on the parking lot fight actually than the great grandchild, but
Right, right.
I don't think you'd have to remind him about that one.
Yeah, but that's not really even a goal. A goal is like a future event that has real parameters around it, right? That you can measure.
That you can reach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm going to be competing in December, so I'm looking forward to that, and that definitely helps. It keeps me. And now, when I even come to the gym, I have more purpose when I train and roll and so forth.
So do you have like specific, like if you had to, do you think it's too vague to like, or too, people differ too much from person to person that like, would you offer advice on this? Like, do you mean like everyone should have a specific goal of some type, or is it like, because for me, I always get caught in like, it kind of depends who you are and it kind of depends where you are at in life.
I'm kind of
and
like
it depends-
that. I just know it works for me, and
Yeah.
I feel like the more goal-oriented I can be, the happier I'm probably going to be,
Right.
the more
And
fulfilled.
I guess for me, any sort of things that sound like advice, the way I think is always, I always have it. Well, it kind of depends on anything for any
Right.
advice. So the best
'Cause
you
you're
can do
a
is
smart
like,
guy. You're not one of these dumb people that you have to eat keto.
yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly. You have to this, have to. It always sort of depends, right? All advice.
I think so.
But you can still say this is what works for me, or this is
Yeah.
what I've seen work for a lot of people. Maybe not you, but
I agree. That'll piss off enough people if you just tell them what works for you.
Yeah.
They'll argue with you that it doesn't work for you. You're wrong. So yeah, that works for me. I think when John Howard was in here talking about being on the path, and for me, when I think of what he was saying, he's talking about being a martial artist, but for me, it has to involve also some kind of goal too, because that gives
Yeah.
direction to the path and clarity to it. For
yeah,
me.
goals along the path.
Yeah,
Because I think that's part of like everyone is always meeting some goal. Like you want to get a job, and then you get the job, and you have to reset. You're
have
like,
to
well,
reset.
now what?
yeah,
And it might be worth keeping in mind when you reach goals, because that's what happened to you, right? Like,
Yeah.
it might be a sort of valuable thing to think when you get to a goal in life, like what am I?
what's
going to
be
now?
next? Yeah, probably have a couple of candidate goals that you're not committed to yet, but when I get there, I'm gonna think about doing this.
So again, just to bring it back to jiu-jitsu, since that's like
Yeah.
our thing, you could answer this better than anybody that I know, which is, don't you see a lot like people get to a belt and then they quit,
Absolutely.
right? Like, so
Yeah.
they had that goal and then they're like, the next belt's too far, or they just have that letdown of like, I worked to get here and now I have it. Now,
I agree. I find a lot of people quit after blue belt, and I call that the summer cookout belt. So you go into a cookout and somebody goes, "Yeah, hey, Dan trains in jiu-jitsu," and some people who don't understand the art say, "Oh, really? What belt are you?" And until you're a blue belt, you're a white belt.
Yeah, which
then
is-
you say, "I'm a 4-stripe white belt," which might mean 18 months of hard work, and to the layperson, it's meaningless.
but
So-
that person you're talking to could be a white belt the next day if they walk
Right,
into
exactly. So once they get the blue belt, they have an answer. And then, in the same respect, whoever they're talking to doesn't know what a blue belt means. That could mean you're 1 month away from becoming a black belt.
Right.
So the blue belt carries enough social weight that they're like, you know what, I'm good. And I find that everyone seems to have an itch that they're trying to scratch, and it differs for everybody. So a lot of guys come in and they go, I want to be an MMA fighter. I want to do this, that, and the other thing. And they train for a few weeks, and they're like, you know what? I've scratched the itch. I'm done. I'm good. I'm out. And I never see them again. And other people fall into the jiu-jitsu, and they're committed to life, and they're growing, and they're learning, and they're moving to higher and higher levels of mastery.
But I remember you telling me once, so pre-jiu-jitsu, you owned a yoga studio, right?
Right.
And I remember you telling me years ago that similar thing. People would come in and come out like beaming, like this is what I've been looking for in my life.
Transforming. Yes.
Yeah. I can't, so happy. And then they'd be gone. like
3 weeks later.
3 weeks later, gone.
They're
and it was
doing,
like, what happened to transform your life?
They're at Soul Cycle or something. They're doing some other nutty thing.
Yeah. What do you think that is? It's like, because I think they're not lying when they're saying, they feel they've met something important, or that, you know what I mean? I don't think it's that. It's just, I'm not sure what it is, actually.
I think some people, the novelty of these things have such a great imprint on them, and it moves them so much that they feel that way. And then when that novelty is gone, all of it is gone for them, which is a shame, because then they'll probably never go too deeply into anything.
Right. And with a lot of these things too, there's plateaus and difficulties. I know jiu-jitsu is the one I know, is like, that happens at Blue Belt too. You're sort of like, I'm so stuck in my ability. The idea of getting to the next belt is so impossible.
Yes.
And
I think self-image plays a role as well. Some people don't see themselves as a black belt or brown belt or whatever the hell it is. And if they can't see themselves there, that robs them a lot of their motivation. Right.
Right. So here's one of those examples I was talking about of saying, where a goal cannot be working for you is, like, for me, if it's like, I can't imagine I'll ever get to brown belt. If the only reason to go in is to get there, then you'll say, I'm never getting there, so forget it. So you need a goal, that also lines up with where you are mentally. You don't, if the only reason to go in is a goal that you see as unattainable, or just so hard to attain that you're like, I'm not going to do it, then you'll actually stop, I
think you're touching on something that's important. Choice of goals. The goal has to be exciting enough to kind of like scare you a little bit, but you also feel it's somewhat attainable. You know what I mean? You got to find that right balance, that right mix. And
because I've heard people give different advice, which I think is kind of bad, which is the sort of the shoot for the stars kind of advice. Is sort of like, someone that's not that good, be like, you should try to be a world champion. And it's like, well, I don't think that guy should try to be a world champion.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, or just someone,
you don't think it's reasonable that they could.
Yeah, it's like, because you're bound for frustration in a way. Some people it could work. I don't know. Again, it all depends. Like, they like the idea of like, try to be a world champion. You'll be happy not meeting it. But I don't, sometimes I think I've heard a lot different versions of that. Like, just try for.
I think most people should try for something that's beyond their reach in order to maximize what they do.
A little beyond their reach, though? I don't know. Like,
I think so. Yeah.
No one, you can't say, I'm going to be heavyweight, to get silly. So I'm going to go to the Olympics. It's like, well, you're not going to, you can't.
I totally agree. Yeah.
There's a silly level sometimes too.
Right. And a person whose personality is open enough to believe some preposterous thing, that's the person that's gone in 2 weeks because they're bored already. You know what I mean? So
yeah, or they get that whiff of there's no way they're going to.
Right. Then you lose credibility.
Because I could see that too. The gym's a good example where someone's like, I want to fight in the UFC. And then it's like, well, here's a 130-pound kid just destroying you. And then they dawns on them like, man, it's going to be a long road.
You would think, but I've had guys come in the gym that want to fight locally amateur MMA, and they can't win a round in the gym. So I'm like, why do you think you're going to do better under the lights than you're doing here now? So I try not to project anything on people anymore. Because I don't think it's good either. If you see somebody with talent and you say, hey, you could be something really good, even if it's true, it doesn't matter unless they come in and really apply themselves and put a lot of work into it. So, and not everyone's up for that. Most people aren't. So, and you may be kind of putting them in that ego trap by saying how good they could be. And now they may...
Yeah, they don't like the pressure.
Yeah. Now they feel overvalued and they say, screw it. And then they just quit and you never see them again. And then they'll always have that in their back pocket. Well, I could have been one of the greatest if I actually tried.
Yeah.
So I let people reveal themselves to me more now than I used to. So I think that's a better way to do it. And, and I feel as a coach, you can only influence people so much anyway. So,
yeah. I mean, there's so many different versions of the gym, but they're all part of this different ways of putting pressure on yourself, but in a good way. right?
Yes.
Because then there's a lot of negative pressure
Yeah.
too. So it's a balancing act. How do you walk that line, where you,
Right.
and there's different versions of it. And how do you alleviate pressure but keep enough to want to come in? And
Yeah,
we're all sort of playing that game, right?
I think so. Yeah. But I think if you do it consciously, like you're saying, it's probably you can be more effective than if you're just feeling the pressures and just
Not thinking about it,
responding
not-
to
yeah.
them. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that's the universal advice, which is just be aware.
I think be
Yeah.
aware of it. Find something that stimulates you enough that it's exciting and it gets you going. You want some pressure. You can't be completely. If you have no pressure, you're not going to do anything, right? So
Yeah.
you need some pressure. I think in our community, I don't think there's often too much pressure, anyways, right? Do you?
You mean the gym? Or-
I just
or
mean in
this-
general, like around here, are people under
Yeah,
too
people-
much pressure?
Everyone seems to feel that way, but you're right. There's not a lot of life and death, and
I don't think so. Yeah. Yeah. I
there's
want
not a lot of like, where's my next meal going to come from? And
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
or I'm not safe.
I feel
or-
like if I don't have enough pressure, stuff's not going to get done. I'm just going to revert to my lazy self,
right. But a lot of people work all the time to try to get as little pressure as possible. So that's maybe the other universal point, which is not to do that. Don't just take away as much pressure as possible from your life. Like,
Yes,
leave
I
some
agree.
of it.
Yeah. A little bit. You need some pressure. You need a healthy level of pressure, if you want to call it that, or stress, or
Right.
excitement. It's all the same. Like when you go to perform in a jiu-jitsu tournament or in MMA, you need a certain level of excitement. You can't be completely flat, but you don't want to be overly excited either. So for every activity, there's a right level of excitement, a right level of stress. So yeah, that's what we need.
Yes.
So I think we should leave it at that, Dan.
Yeah,
What do you
I'm
think?
trying to- yeah, I'm actually curious if you're going to try to make an attempt at summarizing
Yeah.
this show.
So I think when we got serious on this
Yeah.
episode, the idea was for some of us, for me for sure, and I think you probably feel the same, it's very important to have a goal or some goals in our life that we're working toward. And for me, it keeps me on the path. It's like being on a bike and pedaling, I can keep the bike up. If I'm standing still, it's going to be hard not to fall over. So I like to be moving toward a path, keeps me insulated from distractions and sort of overly ruminating about stuff. And we need the right amount of stress in order to move toward our goals. And we need the right goals, ones that are exciting enough, but we also feel are somewhat realistic that we can attain them. And then we got to be ready with new goals once we hit our goals.
Yeah.
I think what do you think? That's
Yeah,
pretty
that's
good
pretty-
universal advice.
Yeah.
Good on you, Dan. Do you have anything else to add?
Nope.
Okay, so I'll just say thanks for listening, folks, and please listen next week. Please subscribe on YouTube and on your podcast apps, on iTunes. Please give us a review. I think we have 3 reviews.
Is it-
I think
that's
on
with you
iTunes.
asking for reviews.
Yeah. So if you,
Just write something nice.
So yeah, just put 5 stars. I don't know. We're probably not supposed to say that, but write something nice. And if
Yeah,
you,
well, no, we're not going to ask for bad reviews.
right, exactly.
Yeah,
if
because
you have a
it's
bad review,
Yeah,
keep
just
it
like
to
you-
yourself. Tell it to me personally.
No need to broadcast
Yeah,
it.
just come up to me and say, "Hey, your podcast sucks." Just wanted to let
That's
you know.
fine.
1 star. Yeah,
Yeah, just say it verbally, though.
just say it verbally. Yeah, awesome. All right, folks. See you next week. Cool.
That was a different kind of show, right? Like
It was good. Yeah,
goofing around for a while, and then.
I like the goofing around.
I'm sort of glad we got to a point, though. It's like maybe a little like. Yeah,
Well,
I like the goofing around too, but
that was the point I was trying to get to. But I can get so serious with that too. I'm like, if I save one person's life.